Thanks, Pete. I'm a bit worried now that this isn't going to be anywhere near as interesting as Audrey and Pat's talks there, but we'll give it a try. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here again. Just a quick talk about theming. First of all, I'm Baz, or Barry. I work for Lookout. We're a SaaS company making software that care companies use. You know the way everyone uses Xero for accounts? We're kind of like that for care teams, taking care of elderly and disabled people. So we're going to talk about a range of subjects tonight, starting with some light theory, and then we'll move on to the details of how I implemented a theme, or themes. There's probably other ways to do this. This is just one example. I'm not saying it's the best way, it's just one way. So let's see how we go. First of all, some theory. This is a book called Atomic Design by Brad Frost. You can actually read it online for free, or you can buy the book and read the book. You don't have to follow it religiously, but I think the basic concepts are really sound. And the basic concepts are, start with small things, which they call, or he calls atoms, which is things like a button or a text field or things like that, and build up. Molecules are combinations of those things, and then organisms, which is a bit of a strange term, but basically I think of an organism as like a screen. So building components on top of smaller components. So why do this? We get these kind of questions all the time. Can you just tweak this? Can you just do this? I'm not going to blame designers for this, but it's usually designers who do this. It's a bit annoying, right? It's slightly annoying, but you're trying to do your best. You're trying to make the app look as good as possible. But more importantly, this can lead to inconsistency in the design of your app. Makes things hard. Like over time, eventually this will build up and things will just become really hard to do. Like you'll just get so many different designs of your app that it just becomes annoying. You don't know what screen to copy for the next one you're doing. And everything just gets harder to build and so it slows down. So what I like to have is a thing that says like, this is an information card, or this is a subheadline, or whatever. And everyone knows what that means. There's no just tweak this and make this a little bit different. Much easier to work with. And that's basically atomic design. Now you don't need to use atomic design strictly, but those basic concepts of starting small and building up and componentizing are useful. Problem you have with components is naming them. Naming anything is always a problem. So you could call a headline or a title something like that, medium 22 point, whatever. Or you could call it secondary title. And that's an example of semantic naming. Which, if you used to do web design back in the day, you'll know all about semantic naming of things through that phenomenal book that I've obscured in the corner there from Jeffrey Zeldman. It's a bit of a shame that we've kind of abandoned that in the web design world, but the concepts are basically sound. Describe things in terms of their meaning or their usage, and not in terms of their content or their composition. It gives you flexibility to change things later on without having to change the interface of the thing. You could say the secondary title, we've decided we no longer want that to be bold. You just change it internally as an implementation detail. You don't need to do a find and replace around your code to take the word bold out of the naming of it. Just makes everything a little bit easier. Here's some more examples of the kind of thing that is semantic, and you'll notice that this kind of tracks to what Apple do in their design. Apple's text sizes, I don't know if they call them sizes or text styles, follow this convention because it's a useful thing to do. Now, for the purposes of theming, we're going to talk about doing this for colors as well. And then when we talk about building components from other smaller components, then we get to things like saying, here's an action button. And an action button has a particular text size, and it has a particular background color, foreground color, font, stuff like that. But you encompass it all in a thing called an action button. So when your designer says to you, this screen has an action button, everyone knows what that means. There's no discussion about, does an action button have a bold font, or is it 14 point or 15 point or whatever. Everyone's on the same page, and you just have consistency throughout your app. So that's all easy, right? That's good so far. It's all pretty basic, and everyone's doing that already in their apps, right? But they're not. That's not what happens in most code bases. We all probably kind of know it should be, but it doesn't really happen that way. I think a lot of that is evolution. It's hard to retrofit that sort of stuff. So I'm going to advocate for building this stuff up front. Do it early. Do it first thing you do when you build a new app. And when you've got that solid foundation in place, it's really easy to build on it and just keep it flowing as you increase the complexity of the app. Now, let's talk about wrappers. So wrappers are a simple component, right? So this component gives you a title, which you can see on the right-hand side. That title is styled in a particular way, but we don't see that style here because that's an internal component we've just built on top of that. That gives it a monospace font, and it draws a pink line underneath. But anytime we need to have a screen that has a title on it, we just use this wrapper, and we drop the content in under the title. And if we change the implementation of what a title looks like, every screen in the app changes, and we have that consistency. We get dark mode for free, obviously, in pretty much everything in SwiftUI these days. But we want a bit more. For this talk, we're going to talk about getting themes on top of just light and dark mode. So we'll bring together some of the concepts that I just talked about in that sort of introduction. I think the introduction is actually longer than the code part of this, to be honest, because it's not that difficult to do. But we're going to put together a bunch of themes. So that's like, that's 3 themes, and each theme has dark and light mode. So we essentially get 6 themes out of this. So step 1, decide on the colors that you want in your themes, which is the hard part. That'll take you about a month. And you'll go through various iterations of it and change your mind and go back and forward. But eventually you'll end up with some colors that you like. There's a good website called Coolors, which is really good for procrastinating about colors. You can take hours and hours and hours on that. So for this one, we're going to make the base theme really horrible. And it's going to be this terrible orange color and a kind of crappy looking gray. And that's to encourage people to change the theme, because that's what we want them to do for this one. Here I'm organizing the colors by naming them with the theme after the sort of semantic name of the thing. You could split that up in different ways. It doesn't really matter. In the code, I'm going to start with an enum with properties to expose our semantically named colors. So we're going to use 3 colors, or 3 purposes for our colors for this one. Background, foreground, and a highlight color. I've given 2 examples of how you could map those assets into colors there. You can use a switch statement, or you can just use the name. And you can argue in the pub about which one of those is the best way to do it. I deliberately left that there to cause a fight. But I actually don't mind. I can see benefits in both of those. It doesn't really matter. Basically, the point is you've got some way of mapping your asset catalogs into code. And from this point on, you should never have to refer to the asset catalog name in your code ever again. You can just refer to the semantic name from the theme. We could stop there. We could just use those. We could use that theme. So this is the swans theme and the foreground color. Of course, that's only going to give you 2 colors for dark and light mode for that. And in this presentation, we want to do multiple themes. So we're going to go a little bit further with this one. And to do that, we're going to use a theme service. I don't love calling this a service, but we'll go with it for now. And basically this consists of a published value, which is the current theme. And that's it. But that doesn't really work if you restart the app, because it's setting the theme to the base theme every single time we restart the app. We want to persist the theme. That's pretty simple. We add an app storage property, which stores the current theme. And every time the theme changes, we set that, we save that, and then we read it on the initialization. So every time the app starts, we read in the theme from storage, and we use that one. So that allows us to persist our theme. I love this. I only discovered this last week, this app storage property, and it saves loads of code. It's great. And to use this service, we will just set it at the root. We'll initiate it at the root level of the app, and then we'll use the environment system to pass it into our subviews as we go. I'm not sure this is the best way to do it. Like, this works and it's fine. I think there might be nicer ways to do this. I tried doing it with an environment key, like custom environment key, and that worked fine for reading. I couldn't get it to write properly to do that, but I think that might be a nicer way to do this. But for now, we'll go with this because it works and it's okay. And then if we want to use that in a view, we use it like any other environment variable, and then we just refer to the color through the service and its current theme. And that works fine. So far you haven't seen the themes. So here, that is the base theme, which is lovely, orange and pink. It looks okay on these screens. Yeah, it's a great theme, but probably your users are going to want to change that to something a little bit nicer. So it works in light and dark mode, as we said, and here is how the colors map onto that: foreground, background, and highlight colors. So how do we change it? So for ease for this demonstration, I'm just displaying 3 buttons at the bottom of the screen with the name of the theme and a little preview of each theme on it. You tap on one of those and it just sets the theme in the service to be the theme that you've chosen. And that's it. And with our app storage property wrapper, that will just automatically save into user defaults and it'll persist. And as far as data goes, we're done. We're finished. And the final thing we need to do now is we need to redraw our app to use the new theme that's been selected. And to do that, we're going to use wrappers again. Just love that picture. So we're going to put another wrapper around our previous wrapper at the top level of the app. So previously, the top level of the app was the title wrapper. We're just going to wrap that in another wrapper, which we're going to call our theme wrapper, or themed wrapper. And the only thing the themed wrapper does is it checks which theme is being applied in a loop. Using ThemeService.theme in that if statement there, when theme changes, that is enough for that to trigger a redraw of the app. And because this is at the top level, the whole app redraws and redraws every color that's referenced further down your view hierarchy. And that's it. It'll draw your themes. And this is a video, hopefully, yep, of me tapping on the buttons and the themes changing. I'm switching between dark and light mode as well a little bit here, and then just tapping the buttons at the bottom and it instantly changes. Pretty nice. And you can argue about your favorite theme after as well. One slight extra thing you might need to do. It works and it's all good, but it's not quite perfect if you're using UIAppearance. If you're using UIAppearance anywhere in your app to do, say, nav bars or cell backgrounds or something that's a little bit fiddly that SwiftUI doesn't allow you to change directly, you've got to handle that kind of manually in this case. So I've got a little function there on the theme service to update UI appearance things that we need to change. And then when we initialize the theme service, we run that. And anytime the theme changes, we run that again. And that is fine because you're reloading the whole app from the top level. It reapplies all UI appearance. And that's fine. I thought of another thing to say. I've got a thanks slide here, but I thought of one more thing to say. There is one problem with doing it this way, which is because you reload the whole app from the top, it will always take you back to the first, the initial screen of your app again when it reloads the whole thing. There's new stuff in iOS 16 that will potentially get you around that if you do a bit of state restoration stuff, which is maybe a way around it. But probably if you've got some place in your app that's like a theme picker, it's probably going to hang off a settings thing that's going to be near the top level anyway, so it's maybe not a huge problem, but you might have to work around that if you do it this way. Yeah, I think you're going to have some state restoration however you do this if you want to maintain your current position. That's it. Argue about your favourite theme. Any questions?
Yeah. Any questions for Baz?
What is your favourite theme and why is it this one?
Hang on 1 second.
Baz, what is your favourite theme?
Mine is the dark Roma one. I like that.
Controversial.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Baz? No? I think that was good.
Cool.
Thanks, Baz.
Thank you.